When I was at Crippled Children's, or Crips as we called it, um, you know, we were just regular kids wanting to do regular things. Some of the things that we did, for example, um, like any kid at the time, we liked pizza, and once in a while on a Friday night or a Saturday night, usually Fridays, I think, um, we would order pizza. Now it was a little bit different back then because uh, we didn't have like Pizza Hut and stuff. In Sioux Falls, there was Chicken Delight, and they didn't exactly deliver. What they did was you could order a pizza and then have them send it in a taxi, which at the time wasn't terribly expensive. So, but we didn't have a lot of money, or most of us didn't. I sure didn't. So what we would do is pool our resources. So we would get uh, a bunch of kids together, and each of us would kick in whatever we had, 10, 15 cents. You have to realize back then it was for a couple bucks you could get a pretty decent large pizza. So, maybe it was 25 cents or something like that. I don't remember the exact amounts, but not a significant amount. And even the taxi only added a little over $1, I think, to the whole cost. So we would get it, and and they cut it differently, back then, or at least they did at Chicken Delight. They cut it kind of in squares, although it wasn't round pizza, so they were kind of round edges. So those that didn't donate a lot probably ended up with kind of a little short, rounded, squared off piece. Uh, I have to say that it was some of the greasiest pizza I ever saw in my whole life. But we were kids. We didn't care. We just ate it. And I'm sure it was horribly bad for us, but, we would do it. And it was a lot of fun. And it was good pizza. Another thing that we did once in a while was we would raid the kitchen. And what that meant specifically was the kitchen at Crippled Children's had most of the food was locked up most of the time, except there was a freezer where they kept the ice cream. And that didn't have a lock on it. And what we would do is get together again in a group and take one of the wash bowls that were used for people to have a sponge bath or something like that. So it was kind of a large metal basin kind of a thing. And a couple of kids would sneak down the steps that were closest to the kitchen, sneak in there and use a big spoon and grab as much ice cream as they could. Usually ones that were already open, because they had the big, like, 5-gallon buckets of ice cream in there. And so they would grab a kind of a mixed mash, a little bit of this. Of course, it would pretty much always vanilla, but there would be some chocolate and maybe Rocky Road or whatever they just happen to have. And fill up that basin pretty full, and then sneak back upstairs. Uh, and then we would all gather around one kind of bed in the middle and dig in and eat the ice cream with our spoons. All of us kept spoons in our uh, nightstands that were part of this and stuff. And I won't say how often that happened, but it did happen, somewhat regular. And sometimes we'd go in streaks when it happened a number of times in a short period, and then it maybe go months and we wouldn't. I remember one time towards the end when I was older and, probably a junior or senior in high school, and one kid had a couple of walkie-talkies, and one of the things about that is one of the walkie-talkies didn't work, but I was able to get in there and fix it with a little soldering and stuff, and a little help from Mr. McCoy. But anyway, we used the walkie-talkies and kind of made a whole system of it where there were kids downstairs with the walkie-talkie with one, and then the other, somebody else was watching, making sure the nurse or the orderlies or house mothers that were on duty at the time weren't coming, or the janitors, although I will be honest, the janitors tended to look the other way. And once again, we would end up with our big bowls of ice cream, and again, it was a communal thing. I'm sure not sanitary at all or anything like that, but it was just kids being kids, doing things that kids do. And believe it or not, that's probably one of the most important things of going to a place like now Lifescape and then Crippled Children's was to get a chance to just be a kid and do some kind of things that kids just did. And this one's a special one out for my friend and reminiscent of the pizza, greasy pizza and kitchen raids, Randy Poole.